Mr. Bloom, for 1.5 minutes, please.
Well, Mr. President, of course, you can tell I'm a scarecrow because I don't dress like a scarecrow. I fought my way through the blizzard in Copenhagen, like many of you did. Interesting, isn't it, that we've had the coldest winter so far on record in London for 30 years. It's the same in Poland, it's the same in Korea, it's the same in China. We've had the coldest temperatures in Florida, Arizona, Texas, the first snow in Texas, I think, for 100 years. And of course, as Giles Corran of the London Times said, my goodness me, and we simply don't get it, of course. Of course, that's what global warming is all about. We've got to get used to freezing temperatures. Well, we've seen the Al Gore hockey stick, which is still, I gather, being shown in London state schools. Al Gore, snake oil salesman, crook. We've seen Professor Jones from the East Anglia University, crook. And now, you won't know about this yet because it's been kept out of the public domain, the New Zealand National Climate Database, and I have the figures here, all fraudulent. When are you all going to wake up? Scam, scam, scam.
Senor Bloom.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is Eric Dudas, and I'm joined by the co-host of Fully Threaded. He's the mastermind of the highly coveted Scrubber software, considered the missing link by many in the industry. Is that not correct, Mr. Brian Musker?
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. And, you know, the Scrubber does, as a matter of course, every day, what lots of people thought was impossible. It unscrambles these fastener descriptions. It makes sense out of them.
That's right, and it does so numerous times per day. So if you're building a serious website and you have some issues with searching or returning part numbers or the like, get with the FCH team. We'll help you out. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's episode 19, hard to believe already, and we'll be uploading to the Fully Threaded site on February 10th, 2011. We've got some big names for you today, and we'll get things kicked off with a conversation with the legendary Bruce Darling. That's right, he's returning to Porteous after a semi-retirement, and we'll hear all about what went into that decision and what he'll be working on. Then we'll talk with Joanne Bialas of the Southeast Fastener Association. They've got their spring conference coming up in Orlando. We'll hear all the details of that. Next, we'll talk with John Wachman and Joe Greenslade of the Fastener Training Institute, and they'll tell us all about the Certified Fastener Specialist training program that's going on July 25th through the 29th in Cleveland. And before all that, we'll get things started with a report from Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International with his Fastener News Report. So as I said, it's a good, strong lineup, and thanks again for joining us, everyone. Let us know what you think about today's episode by emailing us at the address ftr@fullythreaded.com, and watch for our occasional Twitter posts under the handle Fully Threaded.
And our occasional posts on our Facebook page, too.
Yes, those are becoming a little bit more frequent, aren't they? And we're going to have quite a bit of information supporting today's episode out there on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, we'll put a link to this also up on the Facebook page, but following up on last episode where we were talking all about the iPhone applications that are coming out, we mentioned this one that had to do with the Catholic Church and the Pope was advocating it and so forth, and we were joking around, geez, what sacraments might be supported with iPhone apps?
Right.
And lo and behold, in today's headlines, what is this thing called?
Yeah, it's Vatican endorsed too.
Forgive me, iPhone, for I have sinned.
Right.
You knew it had to come, right?
Right. It's actually to prepare you for a proper confession, I think. It doesn't really absolve you over the phone. I mean, that would be just sort of too easy, I think.
At least not with the free version.
Right. Yeah, the absolution comes with the $2.99 version.
Well, we'll put a link up there on episode 19 on the Facebook site. But we just had to point that out. I really wasn't planning on putting up any more iPhone stuff, but there you have it. So how timely is Fully Threaded, Bri? I ask you.
Really up to the minute, okay? Ahead of time, we would say.
You know, we are the people who bring you the FCH sourcing network, and I hope everybody's out there, or your purchasing or inside sales team, using this search engine whenever the need arises. Just get out there to www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. The database has got about, as it sits, about 570-some thousand line items in it, and you're welcome to use that anytime at no charge. We'd also be glad to have you use us as a sales channel. And there's information on the website about how you can do that. We're easy to talk to, so contact us anytime, and we'll help you out there as well. And we mentioned the scrubber, Bri. I think you've been doing a little bit of work on that lately, polishing it up. What in specific have you been working on to make that a little bit better these days?
What we're doing is we're dealing with washers in a little bit more logical fashion. So what we're doing is we're getting the scrubber to detect all the different sizes in a washer and work out how to put them in the order of internal diameter, external, and thickness in all cases, so that people searching for washers, things will be a bit more logical. We're also detecting the diameter of the bolt that the washer fits on or was made for, and sort of loaded up the ASME tables, and hopefully we've got a bit of work we've got to do backfilling, but we hope to bring a new interface for washers whereby people can put in the bolt size and look up the washers that would go with that. That should make it really good.
Now, this whole project actually was kind of driven by Gary Polipnik up there in Fastenal, right?
Right, and he led us off into a path that we realized was really an interesting way to go. But these washers are sort of a little bit different to our most of our other fasteners in that the size that you define a washer as really isn't the size of the washer. Usually it's the size of the bolt that it fits on. And so it's a little bit hard to search for a washer because it could be a whole range of sizes that would fit on, say, a half-inch bolt, for example.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to make it easier.
So you're scrubbing up the scrubber.
I'm scrubbing it up. Yeah, right. It's had a little bit of polishing. We've got a little bit of work in rivets too. That's now all gone into production. The ability to search for a grip range within rivets.
Keep on scrubbing, man.
Right. That's what we tell people.
Well, as I mentioned, we've got a conversation with Bruce Darling coming up. Needless to say, I was really shocked when I was surfing around over at Global Fastener News the other day, and I saw that headline.
Well, that's sort of good. We've had a long and very good relationship with Bruce Darling. I mean, he was one of our early members, or should I say Porteous was, and he's been a fountain of knowledge for a long time for us, and for everyone else, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing is that it was really interesting to see how news spread across the kind of the new fastener media, I mean, it was just slowly disseminating. The first place that I saw it was on Finn, and then it started popping up around Twitter and elsewhere, and just kind of cool to watch how this is all working.
That was you going back to your social media again, okay? This is how it all works, isn't it?
Well, that's the theory. And Link Magazine has got a new look, too. The latest issue hit the streets, and PenCom is the feature story. But perhaps the biggest story with Link is that their new digital version is available, and that's at linkmagazine.com. I was talking to Tracy Lumia about that, and they've got a few more editions that'll be coming, but I would say that this first crack is a pretty good, respectable job. They used a really interesting interface. It seems to be simple to navigate, and the whole issue, this latest issue, is available online.
Actually, when we interviewed Leo, he mentioned that they were going to be experimenting with a few different formats. So, yeah, it looks pretty good.
And while we're making the rounds of the fastener media, we have to point out also that on the latest American Fastener Journal, our buddy Rob Lucas got the cover for his Global Fastener Network.
Right.
A sly devil.
Yeah, I know. Always trying to hide from the limelight.
Yeah, he can't stand it. He's such a shy guy.
Yeah.
I got to get in touch with him and get him back on the show one of these days. He's always got interesting stuff to discuss. I know he'll be giving a presentation at NIFS East coming up, and we'll have to try and get him before that.
Yes, and that's April 26th to the 27th in Columbus this year.
That's right. And we open today's show with a media of a little bit of a different kind, and we'll put a link to that YouTube video also out on our Facebook page. That was Godfrey Bloom on January 22nd, 2010 in the European Parliament, giving them a piece of his mind about global warming.
Yeah, I saw that. It sort of is why the English are treated a little bit strangely by the Europeans, I think. See, they'll never ask them to join the Euro now.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that's a bad thing.
If you're British, apparently not.
But I thought that segment was pretty appropriate in light of my experience last week. When we got killed by that blizzard in the middle of the week, I decided to do a little bit of calling to some warmer states. You know, here I am sitting in Chicago under about 2 feet of snow, and of course we had our power the whole time, and I figured, well, I'll call down Florida, I'll call Texas, California, and so forth. Well, I talked to several companies down in Texas, and they were getting hit with these rolling blackouts. And, of course, this just incensed me. I just find it impossible to believe that a state which happens to be the most power-laden state in the Union is experiencing rolling blackouts. Tell me, how is this possible?
Yes, it's giving many people pause.
Well, for folks who haven't been following the headlines, the feds have gone down and commandeered the power stations in Texas, many of them, and these are EPA, basically fiats that are being acted upon, and it just amazes me that this is not being reported in a different way. It's astounding. And the upshot of it is that there's rolling blackouts in Texas, and a lot of fastener guys are being affected, so it's pretty topical, too.
Yep. Yeah, it's sort of amazing how we've got here, isn't it?
It really is. So, yeah, we figured play a little of that at the top of FTR, stir the pot a little bit. If you're still a global warming alarmist, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. We need Greg Wiener on this episode, you know?
Yeah, I know. Right.
Well, you know, I saw a post fly by in the Twittosphere, I think it was yesterday, from Charlie Acita. He posts under the Twitter handle Charlie Mo, and I follow him. And this quote was, "A political commentary is like professional wrestling. A lot of people think it's real, and no one can change their minds."
Yeah. Good little comment.
Yeah. I don't know what Charlie's opinions on global warming are, but that's what crossed my mind when I read that thing. And while we're blowing hot air, this is a tie-in from a previous Fully Threaded episode as well, and it's from ThomasNet Weekly. It came in via the Fastener Distributors LinkedIn group I saw. Headline, "Pirates took record number of hostages in 2010. Did you see this one, Bri?
Yeah, I did actually. Reminded me of one of our earlier episodes when we dealt with pirates and Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, that was the one. Starts off, pirates captured a record 1,181 hostages in 2010, almost all of them off the Somali coast, and killed 8, the International Maritime Bureau recently reported. According to the Global Maritime Watchdog, attackers seized 53 vessels worldwide last year, all but 4 of which were taken by Somali pirates. The number of pirate attacks against ships has risen every year for the last 4 years, the IMB says. Ships reported 445 attacks in 2010, up 10% from 2009.
Actually, that sort of ties in with article I saw today on the web that pointed out that a supertanker was just captured by pirates today.
Is that right?
Carrying over 250,000 tons of oil. I think it's the biggest one they've got so far.
Now, where did that happen?
Just off, well, they say off the coast of Oman. It's like the bit on the south of the Arabian Peninsula. So it's sort of close to Somalia. They don't know who's done it yet, but I'm sure it's the same people.
Well, I wonder what something like that fetches in ransom.
Yeah, a lot.
Maybe we're in the wrong business, man. But we're in the fastener business, and the online fastener sourcing business, to be exact.
Right. Lest we forget, okay?
No, I haven't forgotten.
Right.
And the Spring Association Conference season has come up, and the show season for that matter. So not everything is all that bad. And we've got Joanne Bialas from the Southeast Fastener Association to tell us all about their event coming up, as well as I got an announcement from the NFDA that their spring conference now has a theme.
Oh, I thought from the last episode you said the theme was golf.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I saw on the announcement, and perhaps I just overlooked this before, it might well be golf, but in addition, it says Strategic Insights.
Oh, yes, I see. An opening keynote speaker, Brian Bewley, Executive Director of the Institute for Trend Research.
I'm fairly certain that's not how you pronounce the name.
Okay. That's the English pronunciation.
Is it?
Yeah. It's old English French name. But anyway, how would you say it?
I have no idea. I have no idea. That's why I didn't say it.
Oh. Right. Bewley, it's Bewley, okay? That's one of the Norman names. It's been in England for 900 years. They still have a Lord Montague of Bewley.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Normans.
Okay.
That's what you get for participating in live recorded radio, my friend.
I can tell there's a problem. Okay. Why don't we move along to the Fastener News Report?
That is a good idea. Mr. Mike McNulty is with us again to present that, and he's back from his previously mentioned large caloric and visual feast, that being the Super Bowl. And I'm sure he's going to have some comments about that. So here's the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Eric and Brian, and greetings to all the fully threaded radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report, brought to you by Fastener Technology International, the print and digital technical magazine for the entire global fastener industry. Today, I find myself longing to be a citizen of Green Bay, Wisconsin, but willing to accept my current status as a resident of Northeast Ohio and a long-suffering fan of the Cleveland Browns. Maybe someday the brown and orange uniforms will appear on a Super Bowl field, but until then I will stay focused on the fastener industry. Our lead story today is about fastener company acquisitions. Alcoa quickly grabs the banner of the largest fastener industry acquisition of 2010 with its $240 million agreement to buy the aerospace fastener business of Transdigm Group. The purchase includes 3 manufacturing facilities, one in California and the other 2 in the United Kingdom, as well as 2 brand names, Valley Todeco and Lynn Reed. Transdigm only owned these fastener businesses for a short time, as they were part of its $1.3 billion purchase of McKechnie Aerospace Holdings at the end of 2010. Fasteners accounted for about 20% of McKechnie's business last year, which is rounded out with other products like actuators, pumps, valves, motors, displays, and laboratory components for commercial and military aircraft. The deal should close at the end of the first quarter, and the new business will become part of the Alcoa Fastening Systems, also known as AFS. Vitaly Rusakov, AFS president, says that this move is part of the AFS plan to accelerate growth and expand product offerings. The acquired product lines are backed up by a 400-person workforce, and they include highly engineered fastening systems for airframe, engine, and equipment applications. Transdigm's chairman and CEO, Nicholas Howley, said that the company is pleased to divest itself from the fastener industry, and it is confident that Valley Todeco and Lynn Reed customers will be well served by AFS. The 2011 fastener industry buying season was kicked off earlier in January with the Hillman Group's purchase of Servolite, a national distributor of residential fasteners and related products. Servolite reported annual sales of more than $20 million in 2009, and the company is headed up by Tom and Jennifer Rowe. Details of this purchase were not released. Writing for Link magazine, Richard Hagan of Pinnacle Capital reported there were a total of 24 publicly disclosed fastener industry acquisitions in 2010. With 2 deals recorded in January of 2011, we are on pace to record the same number this year, but many people that follow these things in the fastener industry expect that 2011 will easily surpass 2010 for mergers and acquisitions. Now let's move on to our Fastener Newsmaker highlights, which are led this week by positive financial reports and new surface treatments for fasteners. Quarterly and annual financial reports for public companies involved in the fastener industry can easily be found online, and GlobalFastenerNews.com does a good job of summarizing key sales and earnings data for fastener-related firms. The good news so far this year is that the numbers are trending positive for many companies, including Grainger, Fastenal, Worth, Annixter, Precision Cast Parts, Nucor, Hilti, Simpson Strong-Tie, BE Aerospace, and M. Hart Technologies. Common denominators in the reports are solid increases in sales and net income and positive results from actions taken in 2010. Some firms are even recording double-digit percentage increases. NOF Metal Coatings, North America, and Curtis Metal Finishing have launched ZN Coat, a new fastener finish that solves typical problems encountered in zinc plating, including hydrogen embrittlement. The new finish is chromium-free, and it also provides a number of performance advantages for high-strength fasteners, all at the same cost of zinc plating. Rockwood Holdings and the Michigan Economic Development Commission announced a plan to build a state-of-the-art $25 million manufacturing plant in Blackman Township for Rockwood's Chemitol business unit. The plant will make surface treatment chemicals to pre-treat metal used for a broad range of applications, including small parts and assemblies. The new plant will employ more than 70 people. Sharp Chemical Solutions has a new zinc and nickel surface finish that has been approved by Chrysler for its new PS 12182 specification, as well as for 3 other Chrysler directives. Erie View Metal Treating is the approved applicator for all 4 Chrysler specs, and Sharp is looking for more applicators in Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. The automotive division of Hettel Werke, located in Germany, is on the lookout for alternatives to conventional joining technologies like stud welding. In the future, ATP tri-press fasteners from Arnold Umform Technique, also based in Germany, are expected to be used in place of conventional weld-on studs. Our final newsmaker highlight this week is that the quality management system at Solon Manufacturing has achieved ISO 9001-2008 registration. Next up is our Fastener Events on the Horizon report, featuring a lot of educational opportunities. The National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo East, scheduled for this spring in Columbus, Ohio, is offering a full day of informational events and activities on Tuesday, April 26th, the day before the exhibits open. Programs include Understanding the Bolted Joint and a Fastener Technology Workshop by the Fastener Training Institute, a Domestic and Overseas Market Overview by Bialas Fasteners, a tour of Metric Fastener's new Columbus warehouse, and a Women in the Fastener Industry meeting. This summer, the Fastener Training Institute and the Industrial Fasteners Institute are teaming up to offer a week-long intensive version of the FTI Certified Fastener Specialist Advanced Technical Training Program. This partnership is in response to requests by fastener distributors and manufacturers to offer the 7-course training program in a 5-consecutive-day version instead of having the students take courses over several months. The accelerated program will be held in Cleveland, Ohio at the IFI Training Center in July. In one of today's features on the radio program, you will hear more about this. The IFI also reports on its involvement in a semester-long aerospace fastener training program starting next week at the El Camino College, Compton Center in California. The college is expecting full enrollment in the day and evening classes that focuses on aerospace fastener manufacturing. Okay, let's turn to the back page of this report where I give some personal interest stories and some editorial comments. First up, the annual FTI Top Products articles are in the February 2011 issue of Fastener Technology International. One of the articles covers a variety of machines, materials, and accessories that are used for making, distributing, and using fasteners, while the other article features the top fasteners covered editorial in the magazine in 2010. The articles, starting on pages 34 and 80, respectively, can be read online or in print, and I think they are worth your time to check out. It seems to me that USA manufacturing, except for windmills and solar panels, is usually declared as a wasteland or dying dinosaur by many of the leading economic, social, and political pundits. Thankfully, the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, also known as the FMA, is telling a different story. The FMA says manufacturers are leading the current economic recovery and that in 2010 more manufacturing jobs were added in the USA than were lost, a net gain of 130,000 jobs. This is the first time that this has happened since 1997. The author of the FMA report says that some people are projecting a net gain of 500,000 USA manufacturing jobs in 2011. In answer to the obvious question of why this is happening, Kuehl cites 3 reasons: better management, an emphasis on strategy and marketing, and an adaptation to new business environments. This is the kind of report I like to hear because I think that manufacturing is vital to all countries since we are defined in many ways by what we can design and produce. Let's hope our manufacturers can keep up the momentum this year. In comments on his blog, former Vice President Al Gore says that the recent snowstorms in the USA are the result of man-made global warming and that scientists have warned us about this for decades. VP Gore explains the science to those of us that are not as smart as him. Warmer air collects moisture like a sponge until it hits a patch of cold air. When temperatures dip below freezing, a lot of moisture creates a lot of snow. Wow. The fact that this guy almost became president is another good argument in favor of limiting the size and power of our government. And now for our final story. Forbes recently published the results of its annual search for the 20 most miserable cities in America. Finishing number 1 and number 2 were Stockton, California, and Miami, Florida. California wins the distinction of being the most miserable state by having 8 cities on the list, including 4 of the 5 top slots. Florida was the second worst state, with West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Jacksonville joining Miami in the top 20. Thanks to Cleveland, Detroit, Toledo, Youngstown, and Flint, Ohio and Michigan were the other 2 states with more than 1 miserable city. The report considered things like employment, housing value, crime, tax rates, weather, commute times, and local sports teams' performances. This is not a good showing for some of our top fastener-making states, and Chicago brought Illinois into the mix by finishing 7th on the list. Thankfully, the news is not all bad, as some other fastener-friendly states like Wisconsin, Indiana, and Pennsylvania managed to avoid the misery label this year. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Visit FastenerTech.com to learn more about the fastener industry and send your news, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at McNulty@FastenerTech.com.
Mr. Bruce Darling is coming up next, and then Joanne Bialas from the Southeast Fastener Association. Stay with Fully Threaded, folks.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FTI works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Hey everybody, this is Vicki Lester with the Pacific West Fastener Association, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
If you've been in the fastener industry for any time at all, you've heard it over and over. Once you get in, you're not getting out. And I guess that's true for you, Bruce Darling, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is. Got it in my blood.
We mentioned it earlier. You've been in the industry for 43 years, and after about a 1-year hiatus, you're back full-time with Porteous, and that's the headline, isn't it?
Well, that is pretty much it. Have enjoyed about a year of working 4 days a week, which some people say that's not very retired, but when you go from 70-something hours to 32, that's pretty much retired, and I've enjoyed it.
So if you could tell us what brought you back, what are you going to be working on, and what's the story?
All right. Well, probably April 2 years ago, Barry and I talked, or actually a little before that, he and I were on an overseas trip. And during the trip, he asked me, he said, "You've bought this house up in Minden, Nevada with your daughter." And he said, "So obviously you have plans of using it sometime." And I told him that I'd planned to discuss that with him on the return trip, where we had about 8 hours on an airplane. We're sitting in Hong Kong at a Burger King, eating a burger. We discussed it a little bit, and I told him I would like to spend my last year of employment with Porteous actually in Minden, Nevada, working from the house. And he agreed that would be all right, and we could do that. So about 2 years ago, I moved to Minden, and it's a little town right off of the mountain at Tahoe, down in the Douglas Valley,
nice,
the Carson City area. And so moved here and worked for 1 year, almost full-time, until I guess it was from October when I got here to mid-spring, and that's when we were laying off some people. And it was the economy had already turned down. And so I talked to Barry about going to 4 days a week and taking a cut in pay that would be appropriate for that. And he said, well, if I could get my work done, and I told him if I didn't have to attend those meetings in Carson, I could definitely get my work done. So we agreed to that. So I've been on 4 days for a little over a year, and it's been real nice. I've enjoyed it, having Fridays off. But every now and then somebody would call on Friday, and I'd answer the telephone, so I stay pretty close to the desk, even on the days off. But I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's true. Almost every time I would call over to your office, you would pick up, and it was just like you'd never left. So, and then I saw you at the Fastener Show, too, in Vegas. So, talk about retirement. People have a different idea about what that means, I guess.
Right. Well, my business card said that I was the Vice President of Materials retired when I attended the Las Vegas show. And I wanted to go to that because I was still dealing with some of the vendors on a program we call Ready to Ship, when they have a product ready to go. And, of course, Barry and the marketing people agreed, yes, I should be there. So I did that and was handing out cards saying that I was retired. Barry told me I can use the same card now, but I need to take some white out with me so I could paint that out as I hand it to somebody. So I hope to see all the vendors and all the friends in Vegas again this year. That would be great.
And it sounds like you're also going to be hitting the speaking circuit again, too. Vicki Lester said you'll be joining the Pac West group for their spring conference.
I will do that. I'm going to be doing that. I'm not sure if I'm completely on the circuit. I've certainly enjoyed doing that over the years. And they had asked me, I guess last year, 2 conventions asked me, and I turned them both down, and then I turned down Las Vegas 2 years ago. And said, no, that I'm not traveling overseas anymore, and I'm not getting, the information I like to share with the people that attend. Well, when I agreed to come back while I was at the corporate office on the 2-day trip just a week or so ago, Vicki called Bob Porteous, and Bob got me on the line and said, Vicki wants you to speak now that you're back in the saddle. And so talked to Bob there a little bit and said, okay, I would be glad to do that. So between now and that March date, I've got to put together a talk that's about 2 years old. But I've written a letter to the major suppliers overseas, and I always, before I would speak to any convention, would write to the suppliers and say, okay, what do you see? What are you doing in your own company? What do you see in your country? What do you see with steel, with coal, with coke, with whatever, is happening? What's electricity doing in China? And they would always write me back and tell me what they were seeing. They were closer to it than I was. And having not traveled in a couple of years, I feel a little bit out of touch that way. So I've written to all the vendors that's likely to answer and asked them, okay, give me what you see and what does the crystal ball tell you?
Well, I have a strange hunch that you're going to get some replies to that, Bruce, so don't worry.
Oh, well, it'll be a couple of days. We've got to get Chinese New Year out of the way, and we've got to get them sobered up. That should happen within a week, and then I'll start getting messages back, and I'll be putting that together for Vicki at the Pac West conference. But as far as going on the speaking tour all over the United States, that's not the case yet.
Well, let's mention that the PAC West 2011 Spring Conference is taking place March 17th through the 19th, and that's happening in Seattle, Washington. All the details are available on the PAC West Fastener Association website.
It'll be good to see the old friends again, and that'll be nice.
Well, it's great to speak with you, Bruce, and I know when I went to FastenerNews.com and I saw the headline, I was surprised, and I'm just so tickled that you were able to share that with us.
Well, it's good to be back. It certainly feels good to be wanted. And when Bob called, I'm a company man, and I told him if it didn't require relocation to Los Angeles, well, I was his guy. And he said he didn't, so we don't know what the future holds or how long it would hold. And I'm not sure that, back full-time for very long, because we've got a couple of pretty capable people running those two departments, and encourage Barry and Bob to beef them up and just, obsolete what I do and let those other two directors take over and do the work.
Right. Do you have any comment on market conditions right now? What are you seeing as of right now that you can share?
On the sales side, our sales are getting a little bit stronger. Everybody's been going so long without buying unless they just had to, that they've run out of some inventory and they're having to fill some holes. I think most of the customers or our customers are seeing that steel is continuing to increase. Anytime around Chinese New Year, it generally increases, and we've been seeing increases now for about a month before Chinese New Year. So as we see that, we share that with our customers. We have about a 4-month window ahead of when they will actually see it in shipments and in cost coming from the various importers. So customers are beginning to take that opportunity to beef up their inventory a little bit at today's prices, which may seem high, but they're not as high as what those prices are going to be now 4, 5, and 6 months out. Hopefully by the time I get to the show in Seattle, I'll have a better feel of what is expected to be those increases and how drastic they're going to be. We've got some problems with iron ore out of Australia. Those floods were tremendous. They stopped some of the mining. They stopped some of the moving the iron ore to the ports. And so the reserves in Australia are almost gone. We're also having the floods in São Paulo, Brazil. And that's the other big producer of iron ore. So the two places in the world where most of it comes from are covered with water. So that can't help but raise prices, and certainly the steel mills will take advantage of that. So we see some increases coming there.
Interesting. Well, Bruce, thanks again for joining us. The headline again is Bruce Darling, after 43 years in the business, then 1 year of semi-retirement, if you can call it that, is back full-time with Porteous Fastener Company, and he'll be appearing at the PAC West Spring Conference in Seattle in March. We sure do appreciate your time, Bruce.
Eric, it's always good to talk to you.
The Fastener Association Spring Conference season is upon us, and all the associations seem to be getting ready. That includes the Southeast Fastener Association, and here to talk with us about that, joining us from Tampa, Florida, is the president of the Southeast Fastener Association. She's Joanne Bialas. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me today.
The Southeast Fastener Association Conference this year is taking place March 8th through the 10th, and that's happening at the Hilton at Walt Disney Resort. Sounds great. What have you got lined up this year, Joanne?
Well, we're really excited. Last year, we had come down to Orlando, Florida for the meeting, and it was such a huge success. And all the members said, we have to come back to Orlando again. But, of course, who doesn't want to be in Orlando, Florida in March? Come on now. So
you're talking to a couple of guys stuck in Chicago. You're talking to the converted.
Right, yeah. Right. How about almost any time of the year, okay?
You might want to think about joining us. It's a good excuse. But we did move the location this year to the Hilton. We were a little further away from Disney, but we really wanted to give all the members an opportunity to possibly, stay a couple extra days, bring the family, go see Disney. So we're literally right across the street from downtown Disney. And, of course, our theme this year is Mardi Gras. Disney actually does quite a bit for the Mardi Gras celebration, too. So we're going to go Tuesday night over to downtown Disney, have some fun there. Our big dinner and event we have each year, we're kind of throwing the beads out there. We're going to vote for a little Mardi Gras king and queen. And, we try to have some fun while we're all there and doing our thing.
That does sound like a good time. What else is on the schedule business-wise for the meeting, Joanne?
So we have a couple of speakers. We try to get a little bit of education into every business meeting. Obviously, this is our one meeting in person for the year. So we do conduct our business meeting, and then we try to have at least one educational speaker. And we are having Linda Wings talking about zinc electroplating. So we're excited about that. We've also partnered with a credit card processing company. They're going to come in and explain to us how it works and how it's of savings and go through that. And then actually, a friend of yours is going to come in down. Our keynote speaker this year is Simi from Stelfast.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I actually listened to that episode of Fully Threaded and heard her, and I thought, gosh, she's such a presence. And, of course, I heard her speak at Wi-Fi when she was one of the panelists. And she really had a great presence in the room. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could talk her into coming down and kind of giving us her take on the State of the Union, what's going on out there in the fastener world. And she has such a great knowledge base.
She's a rock star of the fastener world.
She really is. She really is. She impressed me. So I called her and said, would you pretty please come down? And,
well, cool.
And she said, oh, you want me to come to Orlando, Florida in March? So she was gracious enough to accept our invitation. So we're excited to hear what she has. We haven't gotten a chance to get together on the exact topics, but I'm sure it'll be exciting and very interesting. So, and then, of course, we also have, this is our final year. We've had an annual tabletop show, and this is the final year it will be on an annual basis. And one of the reasons we're doing that is we're trying to kind of be more in line with some of the other neighboring associations. And Southwestern Fastener Association does it every other year. So we thought, wouldn't it be great, put a little less burden on some of our suppliers, travel the circuit and go to them all and say, how about we do the opposite year that they do? So after this year, we'll be doing every other year in conjunction with them. So not to take away from having, the suppliers come, and we're going to replace the tabletop portion with, we have some few other ideas of things that might work and be of just as much interest. But, to kind of avoid having the redundancy of every single year, because we do tend to have basically the same suppliers come each year,
How do people get more information about this and get signed up?
Well, actually, we've made it easier than ever this year. In addition to our website, we have a website just for the meeting, and it's www.sefameeting.com. And basically, all the forms are available for download. There's more information. There's actually a link. You can click the button, and you're right in our hotel reservations block. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible.
And again, the conference is taking place at the Hilton at Walt Disney down in Orlando. We'll put a link to that also on our Facebook page so folks can go out there and grab it that way too.
Oh, that'd be great.
We've discussed several fastener associations on previous episodes of Fully Threaded, but this is the first time we featured the Southeast Fastener Association, and you're the current president of that organization. If you could, please give us an overview of your organization.
Okay, great. I'd love to. The Southeastern Fastener Association has actually been around for a very long time. We celebrated our 35th anniversary this past year, and it was a really great celebration. There were actually some of our founding members are still with us and still active, which is very exciting. But basically, they got together 35 years ago and said, you know, we want to have this regional association where we want to really have a sense of purpose. We want to promote education, networking, and industry events. And over the years, we've done that. We try to educate our members as well as, and what I'm excited about is we still have a wonderful scholarship fund that the members are very generous in their donations each year. We've actually given out, I think it's over 200 scholarships in the past. Yeah, since I think they started it in like '89, around there. But yeah, it's been phenomenal, and we have a lot of donations come in with their dues, and then at the meetings we're always having a little raffle for the scholarship fund. But they're very generous, and so it's not only trying to educate our members, but that scholarship is available to all of our members, employees, and their children or spouses. So it's really a great thing, and it really adds to that sense of purpose. But we place a lot of value on networking. When we get together, all the suppliers are really great. Some of us may be competitors, but when we get together, we're fellow suppliers, and we're all there, and we get to spend quality time with the fellow distributor members. And, we always have a little golf outing, which is a few hours of, real quality time and a little bit of fun. It's a good association, great people. We're not all from the Southeast in the association. We do have some Northerners and other areas. There's mostly suppliers that come on down and want to be a part of it, whether they have a branch location here. Usually that's the case. So it's a shame we only have the one meeting a year. We had two for many years, but it got difficult, and expenses get tight, and it's really hard to attend 2 a year. So we really push for everybody to show up for that one, and that seems to have helped by lessening that burden and putting more emphasis on just having one big blowout a year.
I think all the associations are thinking in similar terms, actually, and that sounds like what we've heard from some of the others, that's for sure. The challenge is providing value to members, building a payback into association membership, and making sure members recognize it too, It
really is, and we're always striving to create value. We've done a number of different things. We've put out a coupon book, and we're throwing out ideas all the time how to create more value. The credit card processing, it's all these little things. But I personally, and maybe that'll be part of my platform, is that I really do put a lot of value on networking and that increased awareness. And I've kind of taken the technological era to heart. We've completely revamped our website this past year to just be more user-friendly and, have more information. It really looked like it was still back from when it was originally done. It was black and white and, in Times New Roman. But so we've given the website a facelift. We threw in having the website for the show, and we've gone to an e-letter. We're still doing like 2 printed newsletters a year, but we've really gotten along quite well with our e-letter now, and it's not quite monthly because we are dependent on finding out the information from our members to share, so that's not as easy as it sounds, but we're getting the e-letters out and doing a whole lot more electronically and trying to take advantage of the fact that you can network and you can learn from each other without necessarily having to be in the same room.
So, Joanne, given your approach to the technology idea interests me because it's my long view that that's an area that needs desperate work in the fastener industry. So how have you approached that during your period as the president then?
Well, we keep encouraging them with little baby steps. You try to communicate more and more electronically, as far as email and refer to the website. And we've really cut back on printing things and, even our membership directory rather than, we spend a lot of money and time and effort printing them and mailing them, and really, do they sit in a drawer or are they, filed nicely in a cabinet, or is it something really want to look up one of the fellow members' information? You hop on our website, type in your little username and ID, and there you go. You have instant access. So, we tried doing our dues renewal simply electronically last year. Didn't go over really well. Some it went very well, and then a lot of them, well, I never got it.
Right.
So we did backstep a little bit, and we mailed them out this year, and we're hoping to try it again maybe next year because those dues renewal forms very important.
Right. Yes.
We
In
need
fact,
those dues paid.
yeah, well, we had the same discussion with Pac West, actually, that they decided especially to go to electronic communication with their members and found that it was a bit of a problem because they announced meetings and people didn't turn up. They said they'd never heard about them. And so, we can talk a lot about the great world of emails and things, but the truth is it's a rather flawed medium in many ways.
Well, and part of the problem is you just get too many of them, and if you have your spam filter too high, the next thing you know, the good stuff's getting put in with the bad stuff, and, it's there. It's at our fingertips, but we haven't quite found the perfect way. But I've learned that, and it's actually quite interesting, but through our company, our email addresses all end in @daggers.com, our brand. Well, for some reason, that word, our trademark word or brand, Daggers, is caught up in more filters. They don't like that word. I think it's a cool word, but it really gets caught up in more spam than you can imagine. So you still have to be careful. Email has its weaknesses. Overall, I think we're getting there, baby steps, but it's a wonderful tool.
Right. Well, it could be worse. You could have a company called with an email with a web address of Daggers and trying to sell sex bolts. Okay, then you'd really be in trouble.
Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned Daggers, and at this point we should mention that in addition to serving as the president of the Southeast Fastener Association, you're also National Sales Manager of International Fasteners, primarily serving the construction industry, and Daggers is your flagship brand. What are you seeing business-wise these days, Joanne?
Actually, it's been an interesting few years. This past year, we ended on a high note. We had 9% growth, which is quite modest, but yet it was growth, so we were very happy.
For last year, that's pretty good, okay?
Yeah, we were happy. That was good news for us. And, we do have 4 locations, so we cover, a good part of the country, not a great part, but a good part. We have our footprints in a number of areas, and it's funny, being corporately based in Tampa, we see different waves. There have been different peaks and valleys through our different areas that we service, and it's been quite the roller coaster. But overall, it's been very busy, very positive. I'm still not seeing those solid stocking orders like we used to see, but we definitely are seeing an increase of orders in general. And we went from, distributors that would put in full pallet stocking orders of their, volume items, and then it went to my customer needs this one box, so I need to buy just this one box. We became their warehouse, which is fine. That's what we're here for. But now all of a sudden we're starting to see a little bit more of your prepaid freight orders, and there's a little bit more confidence coming. Of course, Florida, we were probably one of the first to crash, Florida and California, and they keep telling us we're probably going to be one of the last to truly be up on their feet. But it's feeling good. It's feeling very optimistic from our distributors. So we're excited. We are looking for a little bit more than 9% this year.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty positive.
Mm-hmm.
So did you see even a bigger problem with the recession based on the fact that you're really you service the construction industry, and that's one of the industries that fell very deeply, isn't it?
Oh, it was just gloom and doom. It really was. It really was. And again, we were seeing such peaks, a lot of, all that residential construction everywhere was just, things were going crazy, and, and it was fun because it was, nobody ever called up and said, how much are they? They would call up and say, hey, do you have these? Great, ship them to me today. How much fun is that? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you know what? I can buy those for about 5 cents a thousand less somewhere else. It was like, okay, wait, let me see. We were also desperate because we had so much inventory that wasn't moving. So the buyers have just been having the time of their lives. It's been great fun for them. But, it's kind of evening out a little bit more, and I think overall we are optimistic. We're not going to go crazy like it was, but that's okay. Everything needs tapering out and evening out, and I think the market's starting to shift a little bit more. We're going to have some higher priced goods coming in, and that's going to cause more grief. So everything's going to even out eventually. We know that. It's just a matter of when.
So you're a little more positive about this year. You see this as a better year than last year then?
We do, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
You mentioned inventory levels a moment ago. Without giving away any proprietary information, what's your perception about what's happening in your part of the industry right now with that? Is the competition building inventory yet, or what's your sense of that?
Well, I think we probably all did just about the same thing, which was get very lean, and, if it's not moving, you're not replacing it. So we've all had enough time now to adjust our inventory levels down to meet the demand. Biggest concern, especially among us importers, would probably be if we do start seeing some spikes, we're not going to have the inventory that we used to have. So, some of those C&D items that we might have had a little healthier mix, in our warehouses is probably not going to be there. And our reaction time, everything we do has months attached to it. So if there really is a spike coming that we're not projecting, it's going to be a little difficult for people to get everything they need in the same place. And I can't imagine our competitors would be much different. That's the law of supply and demand and all that.
Yep.
So.
And with regard to overseas suppliers, what are you seeing in that area?
Pretty much everything that is coming in now is just a tad higher. We're not getting everything in at large increases. We're getting small increases, and they've been coming. They've been just tiptoeing up a little bit, and we're being told actually, it's been Chinese New Year, so everything's been down, and I know there was somewhat of a rush out there to get some orders in before Chinese New Year's because all indications were prices are going to go up again, and it's going to start to be a little bit more than that. Little bit, it's going to be, enough that we can't absorb it. And we're almost all getting to that point where what's been kind of just coming in a little bit here and there is getting to the point where, we do have to pass that on. And I think we're starting to see that everybody is pretty much having to do some increasing. And in the fasteners, a lot of what our fasteners are going into is steel, and they've already had a bunch of increases since fall. So we're always just a hair behind on that, but we're definitely going to start seeing some increases.
Well, thanks for that analysis, Joanne. I know there are many listeners out there who are in a similar situation, and it's always good to hear what others are experiencing. Let's remind everyone that the Southeast Fastener Association is holding its 2011 Spring Conference in Orlando. That's March 8th through the 10th. And Joanne, would you like to share the web address for that event again?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. You can visit our website at www.sefameeting.com for more information or to register on the show. Or you can visit our regular website, www.thesefa.com for more information on our association. You can even apply for membership right off our website.
Sounds like a real deal.
Also, you can see more information about international fasteners at the website www.daggers.com, and daggers is with a Z on the end. We'll put both of those links and also a link to the Southeast Fastener Association on the Fully Threaded Facebook page, so people can access that anytime. Well, Joanne Bialas, you're the president of the Southeast Fastener Association. Your spring conference is coming up in just a couple of weeks, and we wish you all the best with that. Thank you so much once again for joining us on Fully Threaded.
Well, thank you for having me.
John Wachman and Joe Greenslade with the FTI are up next. Stick around.
This is Tom Buddenbone. I am the membership chair for the NFDA and the partner in Technology Components Southwest. I'd like to invite you to consider membership in the NFDA. Some of the benefits to membership include tremendous industry networking, business education via the Institute for Trend Research, economic insights with the quarterly trend reports from a service that's provided to us, global perspective when buying and selling all over the world, tremendous benefit in information sources from Asia and Europe, gives you an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with other members, both suppliers and distributors. We offer an annual meeting that has ESPS session, which are a series of 30-minute scheduled meetings with existing companies you do business with, and more importantly, with companies that you don't do business with and want to learn a little more about. Our goal is to gain new members, both distributors and associates or manufacturers and large importers, and we also want to invite back those that have dropped out of NFDA in the past due to some of the economic issues of the past couple of years. It's a great association with great members. Please take a peek at www.nfda-fastener.org, or you can call the office for NFDA at area code 312-673-4900. Thank you again, Tom Buddenbone with Technology Components and the NFDA.
This is Al Guapone with Screws and More in New York. Please check our website, www.866screwit.com. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
On the previous episode of Fully Threaded Radio, we announced the upcoming Certified Fastener Specialist program, and that's being put on by the Fastener Training Institute. And joining us now to discuss that a little bit further, we have John Wachman of Desert Distribution Sales, and also Joe Greenslade of the Industrial Fasteners Institute. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hello.
There's so much to talk about with training and the fastener industry. As a matter of fact, there's a post on the Fastener Talk blog. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's a subject that a lot of people are interested in. And the program, the Certified Fastener Specialist program, coming up July 25th and 29th in particular, has been discussed. That might be a good place for us to dig in. John, what's that program all about? You're the committee chair for the Pacific West Fastener Association, and you're just the person to ask on that question.
The Certified Fastener Specialist program was started in the late 1990s, and it was originally started by the Los Angeles Fastener Association, which has since morphed into the Pac West Fastener Association, which still manages and maintains FTI, which now maintains the CFS program. But since 1998, we have graduated 245 students through the CFS program and had over 700 people attend different portions of the classes. The current programs that we're putting on this year, we're putting on over, I think totally we're putting over 20 programs, but with the CFS program probably being 12. Obviously, all my phones are going to start ringing right now. Joe, when did you first start your association with CFS?
Oh, I believe it was probably in the late 90s. Shortly after the program had started, I started teaching part of the class.
If you could, please explain to us, what's the tie-in here? We've got three organizations. We've got the Pacific West Fastener Association, we've got the Fastener Training Institute, and we've got Industrial Fasteners Institute. How do all these organizations relate?
Well, we branded the Fastener Training Institute as a standalone operation to make it, let's say, attractive to other fastener associations to use us as a resource, rather than using the, let's say, Pac West brand. We wanted to make it more user-friendly to the fastener associations in the Northeast or the Northwest. So we spun off FTI as the Fastener Training Institute, and we joined with the IFI, I think 3 years ago. We co-produce 2 or 3 programs every year for different topics. And what we did is that the normal CFS program was originally done in one-day classes where it might take a student a number of years for each and every topic so that they could take the final test and end up with a CFS completion. So what we did 2 years ago in Chicago is Joe and a couple of the other trainers put on a 1-week program in Chicago where people could travel to Chicago, start on a Monday and end on a Friday, and they would cover all the individual components of a CFS class and then leave on Friday and have their CFS certificate. So that was our first attempt at doing a 1-week program or a program where we could do it in a city outside the West Coast and do it in one sitting. And it was successful enough that we did it for a second year last year in Cleveland at the IFI headquarters. And I think, Joe, we're going to do another one this year at the IFI?
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's proven to be pretty successful, and we've gotten very, very good reviews from our students. And I think it's reinforced what we thought was a need for fastener training throughout the country.
What kind of prerequisite material should students have under their belt before they come to these courses?
Well, they don't need a lot of formal experience. We find that people probably with a minimum of a year in the business benefit the most. We've had a few people who were hired and sent right away as their first exposure to the fastener industry, and that's probably a little too soon. But if someone's got 1 year or more, they've heard most of the terms and so forth. Then our training can explain those things in greater depth in their relationship to one another. But we've had many people who've been in the business 20 and more years who, after having gone through it, have said that they were benefited greatly from it because in one consecutive series of lessons, a lot of things that they had heard over the years were pulled together, and they saw the industry and its technology more as a whole than they had prior to the program.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wonder what would happen if you had a prospective student approach you, say, with maybe a year of Fastener Internet radio show host experience. What would you say to that person?
Give it up.
One of the things that we do locally out in Los Angeles is for total newbies to the fastener industry, we actually put on product training basics. We actually do 3 one-day sessions that we call product training. And normally the people who take those 3 basic product trainings usually then lead into the CFS program. And as a matter of fact, this year, I believe it's in March, we're actually taking the basic product training program to Seattle for a one-day mini training. So in where the roots of the CFS program being in Los Angeles, the way it grew up, normally people get some fastener basics, or as Joe says, maybe a year of experience so they kind of know some of the nomenclature. And an interesting thing with regard to our economy this year, we put on our first product training basics class in LA about 2 weeks ago, and we had 3 times the number of students this January than we did last January, which kind of shows that people in our industry, the fastener business, are recruiting and hiring more new people, and that's what feeds the product training class, and then in turn feeds the CFS program.
Well, that is good news.
Yeah, right.
A couple of things I'd like to mention also is that we are also investigating having the CFS programs to be accredited under a certificate program through the ASTM, and that would give the CFS program a little bit more credibility and a little bit more of a structure.
Actually, now that's what leads me into my question, okay, which is the mention of the ASTM relates to how the institute, the Standards Institute in America, grew up to be associated with private organizations as opposed to government-run ones, such as in the European Standards Institutes. How did that happen in the US?
Well, unfortunately, I can't give you as good an answer as I'd like because I've only been involved in it 40 years, and I go back 60 or 70 years. So, but it's probably part of the whole American thing where we're, not as government-centric as many other countries are. I know the efforts in terms of fastener standards started really in and around the Second World War when there was a growing concern about interchangeability of components and so forth that for repairs in the field and things. But I can't tell you why the American Society of Mechanical Engineers picked up those standards at that time. Apparently they were someone was looking for a home for them and a place for them to be developed, and that's where the fastener standards were settled. And then ASTM, the American Society of Materials and Testing, has also been around probably 70 years or so, and they cover all kinds of materials. Actually, they were sought out in the 1960s. American Society for Mechanical Engineers places almost all their emphasis in standards work on the dimensional aspects of fasteners, and the ASTM handles more of the materials and physical requirements of the fasteners. So, again, that really started before my time, but that's the delineation that we've continued to maintain during my experience. So they both work together, and in fact, there was a lot of military standards in existence up until about 15 years or so ago, and at that point the government decided they were getting out of the standards business and put out an edict that government users of all kinds of commodities would start using industrial standards and requirements instead of their own, and that transition has been just about complete for the most part. There are still military standards used as repair parts, but they've greatly diminished over the years. So the fastener industry is a maturing industry, so the standards work is largely maintenance at this point, and we're not creating many brand new standards.
How does that, like the IFI and say the ASME, how do they work out which standards they're each going to cover then?
Well, the Industrial Fasteners Institute is the trade association that represents fastener producers in North America, and because we're solely in existence to support the fastener industry, it's just been traditional that the Director of Engineering be heavily involved with ASME, ASTM, SAE, and ISO, all of those four bodies, to make sure that the interests of the American fastener producers is well represented, and that standards and rules are not created that are detrimental to the successful operation of the industry. Fasteners are peculiar in that there's a lot of technical details about them that people from the outside just don't realize, and well-meaning people can sometimes make a change or a proposed change to a standard that looks very innocent and won't have much consequence, but when you consider the way the parts have to be manufactured, the procurement of the material, and so forth, that it can unknowingly create some problems. So that's part of what we try to do, is monitor those activities to make sure that adverse standards and changes are not made the industry would suffer from.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I suppose we're all lucky that the tie-up is some person, actually such as yourself, isn't it, who sits on all these different organisations.
Well, it does bring some continuity to otherwise pretty disjointed series of organizations, but it's worked quite well. My predecessors were involved in creating many of these standards groups within ASME and ASTM, so the IFI's got a long history of being heavily involved in the technology of this industry.
And the CFS program relies on the IFI standards, the ASTM standards, and the SAE standards. The students bring those books with them when they come to the classes and use them heavily during the course of the curriculum.
Okay. I mean, it isn't. For me, it's interesting because you'd say, how come they've got to bring 3 books? I understand exactly how it's all happened in the US. It's just, if you're in Germany, you'd bring your DIN book along and that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
The primary book that we use is the current Industrial Fasteners Institute standards book. We do look at some of the others, but the IFI has always compiled the relevant standards from ASME, ASTM, and SAE into one book that has been published periodically for about the last 70 years, because it's another effort to simplify the industry from a standards standpoint so that people don't have to keep up with all of the individual things. I do that in keeping up with all of them, but make sure that we coordinate their dissemination and integration. And we're working on a brand new development now using desktop publishing. For the first time, we're going to put out our 8th edition of the Industrial Fasteners Institute, and because of the new technology, we'll be able to update the books with greater regularity than has been in the past. In the past, they've only been updated about every 10 to 15 years because of the extensive work it takes to publish a book like that, but now we will be able to do it probably we're shooting for about every 3 years. We'll do an updated book now.
So this is your Fastener Standards book, which is available actually from the IFI online, isn't it? Okay.
Right. And for the first time, we're also introducing it in a digital version, so people will have a choice of either hardcover or digital in our next revision.
Okay, and I see a picture of an iPhone on your technology connection too.
Right.
Jumps right out at you, doesn't it, Bray?
Right, there.
If we could take a moment, I just want to mention the individual elements that we use in the CFS program. There are 7 different classes that we combine in the one-day session that we do with the IFI, but basically we do a fastener manufacturing plant tour where we'll actually go out and take the students and show them how different types of fasteners are made. We do a secondary process plant tour where we'll do a plating tour, a heat treat, maybe a locking element tour. There's a third class on fastener specifications and terminology. There's a class that we now call Understanding the Bolted Joint, which, Joe, that used to have a much more technical name, and that used to scare people off, so we changed that one. And then we do a separate class on dimensional and material specifications, and then one on fastener quality assurance, and one on fastener testing. So currently those are the elements that are covered in a complete CFS class. We also have some advanced classes, one on advanced metrics and one on advanced print reading. And, we are always looking at including new materials for the program. Actually, we're probably going to add an additional class and require that some of the existing CFS students come back and add to their basic knowledge. And then we've got something else new this year. FTI and IFI are going to co-produce an automotive fastener training program. Joe, we're going to hold that in Detroit this year?
That's correct. Yeah, this was an outgrowth of our basic fastener training program that we've co-produced the last 2 years. At last year's program, we had a number of people from automotive fastener manufacturing plants, and in brainstorming with them in the evenings, they asked for some course material that was more directed exactly at what they're doing instead of being quite so broad. So we worked with those students and came up with a 2-day program instead of the 5 days, and we will produce that, as we said, end of March, the 1st of April, and we plan on making that an annual, if not a semi-annual program in the future, depending on what the receptiveness is. But on that one, we're going to start off with torque tension discussion, and again, the creation of the joint appropriately. We follow that with failure analysis, how you identify various kinds of failures and what their root cause is. Then on the next day, we start with a plant tour of a heat treat facility, and incorporated in that is a class on basic metallurgy related to fasteners. Then the last part of the program is an extensive tour of a coating facility that coats only automotive fasteners, because they've started zeroing in on many fewer fastener finishes than they used to use, but with higher performance. So we'll have a class on the application of that and some more of the technical details, and that will be the automotive program.
And Rob Harris, Joe's cohort at IFI, we've been talking about a possible future program of coming up with a new curriculum for aerospace fasteners. So that's in the planning and development stages to see if there's a market for that kind of training, and what the curriculum would be, and where we might put on those trainings.
Oh, I'd have to imagine that's huge.
Yeah.
We also do proprietary seminars where an end user or an individual distributor who wants us to come to their facility and put on a program, we'll custom tailor and develop a program for them. That's been a kind of a growing part of FTI.
Let's point out that the schedule for all the Fastener Training Institute courses is available online on the website, and that's at www.fastenertraining.org. And we're going to put that URL, as well as the URLs for all the other related associations and organizations that we've talked about, on our Facebook page, so folks can go and reference those if need be. And we're going to wind things up at that point, gentlemen, and we appreciate again that you were able to join us and share some of your wisdom with us. I know you've gotten at least one person in this conversation, that'd be Brian, very excited right now. I think I hear you flipping through some books in the background over there, Brian.
No, that's very good.
And I'd give some advice if you're going to come to one of the courses, especially if Joe is one of the lecturers or trainers, is come prepared to work, because they do put you through your paces.
Good. Okay.
Also, one other thing I'd like to pass on to whomever might be listening is training is an investment. It is not an expenditure. My experience in 40 years in the fastener business is that one seemingly small error on the part of someone entering an order or doing an inspection can cost way more than what a full week of training for an individual can be. So I'm thrilled that we've got programs to offer, but I'm constantly amazed at how few people take advantage of this, because it's, as I say, it's truly an investment and not an expenditure.
That is a great point.
Very well said, Joe.
Joe Greenslade, John Wachman, thank you once again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay warm, folks. We'll help you during the closing segment. It's fully threaded.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FTI works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who have ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
This is Louis Speedon with J&B Fasteners. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on Carbon Neutral Fastener Talk Radio. Well, it was good to hear Joe Greenslade make that point at the end of the interview there. I think people really do need to view training as an investment, and it was good to hear John also mention that some of the classes they've been offering thus far during the year have been really kind of filling up.
Well, it's a tough time. Now, we've been through a couple of tough years, and that really makes people think really carefully about their education spending money. But it's always very important. It's just that everything's important.
Well, and these are the guys that you want to go to for education in fasteners, too. Man, listening to you and Joe Greenslade there, it was like, engineer alphabet soup.
No, actually, it's a really interesting, I know it's probably interesting only to me, but it's important that these different committees have someone in common between them. I mean, there's no particular reason why any of the ASME standards, be relevant to the IFI standards. Imagine what would happen if they both tried to make different standards for a flange bolt.
Oh, I understand that. I guess most people are glad there's guys like you out there to kind of manage all that stuff because Lord knows I couldn't do it.
Well, it's sort of important, but it shows a big difference, and it's fascinated me for a long time. The difference in the standards bodies, say between United States, which is no real standards body, that's government organised, and mainly the other countries in the world where it's taken over as a government function.
Right. Yeah, that was an interesting point you guys covered.
And the Fastener Training Institute, I struck them over at the PAC West. They put on a short seminar really about quality assurance or quality control, and it was a great seminar. I thought about that a lot afterwards.
That was during the fall conference?
Yeah. Yeah, if that is an indication of their training courses, it'd be great courses they put on.
And speaking of association conferences, don't forget the Southeast Fastener Association Spring Conference is taking place March 8th through the 10th, and it was good to have Joanne Bialas on with us to discuss that. And it was also good to hear, I guess, maybe about a little bit more economic reawakening that she was explaining. It's hopefully coming back down her way a little bit too, business-wise.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard from some of our members down there that things are great. Others have said that that's not what they didn't really expect the Southeast to be coming back as quickly as other places.
Well, let's send a word of thanks out to Joanne for joining us on today's episode, and also to Bruce Darling, John Wachman, Joe Greenslade, and, of course, Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology. We really appreciate it, everybody, and thanks for making this another great FTR.
Yeah, thank you for all of you.
Also, thanks to everybody out there listening and all our many subscribers. That number keeps growing, and I'll remind everybody that you can certainly stream it off the website, fullythreaded.com, but you can also get out to iTunes and subscribe that way, put it on your iPod or on your iPhone, and also from your BlackBerry device if that's the way you go. Let us know how we're doing, and you can do that through good old-fashioned email, and the address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. Also, watch for our Twitter posts, which come out occasionally under the handle Fully Threaded.
Right, as we've said before, we're very keen to get feedback from you, and any way you think we can improve Fully Threaded Radio, we'll be very happy to get your comments.
Right, and increasingly we're putting supporting information out on our Facebook page, and that includes information about today's show. So get out there if you want some of the follow-up links, some of the YouTube videos, and so forth. So, Bri, on top of everything else going on that we've been talking about here, the iPhone revolution, piracy, global warming, we've got something else that caught my eye. We were talking about this earlier, a story on MSNBC.com. Headline, "Are we about to fill up the internet?"
Yeah.
What's all this about? Are we actually running out of IP addresses on the internet? Do we have to worry about this now? What is this?
Well, actually, people have been concerned about this for at least the last 12, 13 years. And they've been planning for it. There's been, probably since about 1999, people have been planning for a new set of expanded way of signing people internet addresses. But it's so complicated that it's really hard to make all the old software work with it. You know, considering people are still running on, Windows 98, if they suddenly change the way that the addresses work out, then people running on old computers will have trouble. So this new method is called IPv6 version 6. It's been a solution for a long time, but it's taken a long, long time to actually really implement it because people are terrified of parts of the web breaking. So they are running out of addresses, but they have a huge pool sitting waiting. So it's not the end of the world.
Well, it says in this article, a little bit farther down in there, it says it allows for a theoretical maximum of 4.3 billion addresses in use, far beyond what was thought necessary for what was then mainly a network for academic use.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about this. This whole we know who invented the Internet. It was Al Gore. But if you don't believe that, then it was actually invented by a group within what they call the DARPA, Defense Advanced Products Research Group. And it was running probably in the late 70s. And in those days, you're right, they never thought they'd need quite so many addresses. If you think about it, 4 billion isn't going to last forever because by the time everyone has 2 or 3 gadgets, then that number gets taken up pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's probably that many Androids out there right now.
Yeah, if you believe Google. Not sure if I believe Google that much at the moment.
But in summary, you're saying we don't have that much to worry about, and they're going to come up with a whole new system, and the Internet's not going to run out of addresses, huh?
No, I mean, they've got time. It's just this has just given them a little bit of extra oomph to go and do something about it. They've sat around with the answer for this for at least 10 years.
Whew, well, I'm glad to hear that, that's for sure. That's all we need is one more thing to worry about,
You're right. I thought you said from one of your previous articles that Ray Kurzweil said we weren't going to have to worry about anything because we could have completely slip out of our bodies in another 30 years.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other subject right there. But, as it stands right now, we're still stuck in our bodies, and right now around here it's freezing cold. So in a way, I'm almost a little upset that there isn't a relationship between carbon footprints and global warming,
Well, why is that?
Well, because then just getting out of this frigid cold weather would be a matter of going out and expanding our carbon footprint.
Right.
Oh, well. At this point, our immediate goal is to make it until episode 20. What do you say? Hope to talk to you all then, folks.
You're right. For Eric Dudas, this is Brian Musker, and we thank you very much for listening. Look forward to catching up with you again in 2 weeks.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?